Okay, now what I want to do is I want to make a little bucket that will go around the starting point, so that when you drop the marble, you know, if it kind of rolls or bounces around, the bucket will kind of keep it on the track. So that's what I'm going to make at this point. So let's start off by putting some wire here. I'm going to make a little loop. This is going to go like right there. And I'm going to make a little bend like that. So you can see it's going to kind of come like this. Alright. To make it right around that. You can see I'm not measuring so much. I'm kind of eyeballing everything. You know, measuring is highly overrated. Of course, technically I am measuring. I'm just not getting a measuring tape out to measure. So, you know, you waste a whole lot of time with measuring tape when you can just kind of eyeball things and you know it's good enough. Okay, so there's my little starting bucket, and that'll keep the marble from falling off. Alrighty, I think I have it just about the way I want it, and so just a little bit more tweaking. Okay, I don't know if you can tell or not, but the little starting bucket, you know, bends inward at the end, and the reason for that is like when you drop the marble and it kind of rolls along the side over here, you want to kind of push it onto the track. So that's what it's going to kind of do. Okay, so I'm going to get my clothespin. I'm going to make it hold it in place while I try to lock everything down. Okay, so I've got it all locked down, and that ought to be good. Let's just try it with the marble, make sure it's, oh, see, that side's not too good, so let's bend it down a little bit. Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. Alright, I like that a little better. You always want to test each step along the way, otherwise, you know, if you build a whole sculpture and you don't test at all, you're going to end up with a sculpture that doesn't work. So you definitely want to test all on each step, all along the way, or you will have problems. Okay, so now I'm going to try to solder the bucket on. You want to solder it to where, you know, all the sides are sticking real good. If they don't look like they're sticking, then, you know, keep feeding it until it does stick. Okay, so I got that end pretty well stuck down. Now I want to get the other end stuck down, so I'm going to flux it. And flux is a little bit on the corrosive side. So you can see it's kind of cleaned that end of it after, you know, because it's hot. So you don't want to, I don't know, you just want to be careful that it doesn't oxidize everything. If you have a big sculpture, you probably want to wash it off every so often so it doesn't corrode it. Okay, so there's our starting bucket. Okay, now we're going to start with the track part, and you can see I've got the bucket made, and you can put the marble anywhere in there. It'll push itself back on the track. Now what we want to do is start making turns and straightaways and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with a turn, And for this turn I'm going to have it where it goes through the inside here. So I've got to pull that wire through there. And sometimes the wire cooperates better than it's cooperating right now. Okay. So you can see right away I'm going to have a nice little turn there. Now you got to remember on turns, okay, when you have momentum, the momentum makes it want to fly off the end, so you've got to bank the curve. And maybe I'll show you here in a second kind of what I mean by that. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm trying to make it where the track is even all the way around, so you have the same distance. And, you know, there again, I mean, a lot of this is just eyeball work. Just kind of look at it and just say, oh yeah, it looks like it's right. You know, if you wanted to make some kind of device that makes sure that the separation is correct all the way down, well, that, you know, that's up to you, but it seems like that's overkill. Okay, so there's my track. I have it a little turn to start off with, and let's give it a try. Okay, so far so good. And see, now if I didn't have it banked, let's see, this is, if it wasn't banked, this is what, you know, it would fly right off. So we definitely want to have a bank to it. We want to make it where it'll always want to kind of come back to the inside and not fly off. And the other thing you want to make sure is your speed is about right, and that looks about right to me. Typically it's going too fast or too slow. Still kind of an interesting speed, so that's good. Okay, so we have our first little part of the track, and what we want to do is brace it now. So what I'm going to do is make a little brace, and it's going to, let's see, where shall I have it come off? I'm going to have it come off right here, and it's going to come out and touch this right here. So it's going to come about right there. All right, and I'm going to cut it off. Okay, so it's something like this. Well, see, I already made it the wrong width, but that's okay, because you can always rebend it, which I'm going to do. Okay, so it's, I don't know if you can see what I've done. It's kind of a, this is where it hooks onto the wire, and this is where the track's going to go. Okay. Alright, so there it is. And maybe a little more bank to it. Okay. Alright, so there it is. And the other thing I want to do is see this end over here. I could cut it off right there, but then it would be really sharp. So what a lot of times I'll do is I'll get it to a decent length, of course, and then just make a little loop doodad like this. And what happens with that, when you make the little loop, it makes it where it's not sharp anymore. You know, if you touch it, you're not going to hurt yourself. And that may be good if, you know, kids are playing with the sculpture. You don't want them to get hurt. So, alright, so there it is. So I'm going to lock this thing down. Okay. And I'm going to have my little clothespin hold it in place while I solder it. And maybe 2 clothespins. Okay. And I'm going to flux it real good. And start up my propane torch. You can see the flux kind of burns off first. That's where you see the yellow flame. And you let it sit for a while and you'll start seeing green flame there. See, when you have a green flame, it melts really easy. Now see, at this point I have the torch just barely on. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's just barely on. And I guess that's cheating. It's kind of dangerous, I guess, but that way I don't have to keep starting and stopping it all the time. I can just leave it on, and I can just bring the flame back up to the big size when it's there. Okay, so see, I don't have to start it now.